All right, chat. So this is my map. Who was it? I want to add like a rank system to it, but um, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that this stream because I honestly don't know how to do it. I have like Discord servers that I'm in that have like the verse code and the assets to like make a rank system, but I don't think it's like gonna be exactly what I'm like actually looking for slash asking for. A few days ago, off stream, I was working on one of my other maps, and I was trying to add what do you call it, like the point system, like the UEFN slash tournament like point system assets and stuff like that that I downloaded, and it didn't work. So like I'm not saying I'm discouraged from that, and like I'm not going to try to do it again, but I want to try to work on other parts of like the map overall and not just focus on like the point system entirely, because that's just one side of the entire map. And like if the game doesn't have like a tournament style play system, it's not the end of the world, but it does have like a big part of like keeping engagement and having more people wanting to play the game. So from that aspect, it kind of sucks like not knowing how to do that, but I'm going to try my best to figure that out as soon as possible. But for now, I'm just going to add like a little, what do you call it? Like a little pop up of some sorts for like updates and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna add that into my map right now. Sorry if the screen goes black, it's because there's something with like OBS slash Fortnite where in in UEFN where the screen like zooms in on one of the assets, or like when you're clicking through things it just turns black. So sorry if that happens. But with that said, I need to make a new folder, I'm pretty sure. So right now I'm trying to add the stuff into this folder that I already have. It looks like there's already stuff in here, but you can't see it. So I don't know what that's all about. But because of that, I'm just gonna make a new folder instead. Even though that folder looks empty, apparently there's already stuff in it. So I'm just gonna put all this stuff into a different folder so it doesn't like interrupt anything that's already in there. Alright, so now I think I added the assets into it, but what is it called? Wait, sorry, I got sidetracked. I'm trying to figure out how to make it so I could just have the chat up for... I don't know if you could do that. Okay, anyway. Right now I'm just adding the scrollable UI. So basically if there's an update to the game or whatever, people will be able to see it. So I'm just adding the assets that I downloaded.
Welcome to the tutorial. Today we are going to create a scroll UI This is to reach the This is the video on how to import stuff, so make sure to watch it. And after that, we're going to open a folder like this. And first, please go into the mfglint function. Just switch something up. Make sure to drag it into here, apply and save. After that, we're going to open up the glint effect. See, here we have an unspecific function. Just make sure to click on here and search for mfglint, or maybe just only glint, and there you have the function just connected with this value right here. You will get just make sure something up. Make sure to, this is the video on how to import stuff, just make sure to watch it and you will have no questions. So you'll get a folder like this. And first, please go into the mfglint function. Switch something up, make sure to drag it into here, apply and save. After that, we're going to open up the glint effect. See, here we have an unspecific function. Just make sure to click on here and search for mfglint, or maybe just only glint, and there you have the function just connected with this value.
Wait, is that their alien icon? Use a hand.
Here you will get this value when you press down 1 on your keyboard, and then I'm just gonna change the default value to 1. And now compile and save this. Same thing with the mfont right here. Make sure to put in the function right here, or you could just add the function from the content drawer. Just add it here, connect them both, and there you go. Apply and save. And now we're gonna focus on the widget blueprint. Go to user interface, widget blueprint, select the second one, the modular dial. I'm gonna name it WB scroll test, since I'm gonna delete this one from this file, and you will have only this one, the ready one. Now we are here in the widget blueprint. Make sure to drag in the canvas panel. I'm gonna adjust the size just so everything will work better.
Making a canvas.
Then with it, compile, add in the image, change the angle. First up to I'm gonna change the alignment also to 0.5. So it's right in the middle, as you can see. Here. Now this is how it should be. I'm gonna turn on size to content since I provided with this texture right here, which you can use. background, open it up. Here are the settings for the texture. Since it's I use the UI and user interface right here. Very important setting, otherwise you will have an error message.
I'm not seeing uncompressed 2D. Oh no, user. Where's user? I don't see user. I don't see that. I don't see user 2D interface.
Since it's a too big texture size, I'm going to the blueprint. And here we go, compile. First, we're gonna do the button. So you can select any button you like. I'm gonna select the given button load, change the angle.
Okay, UEFN button loud.
Cursor, the middle. First, we're gonna do the button. So you can select any button you like. I'm gonna select the given button load, change the anchor cursor. The middle. See, now it's right in the middle.
And then 0, 0.
Now you can simply just drag this one down, so to align it right. I'm gonna change up the size, so it's gonna be like this. So 55, 140. Now we are also going to rename the text. For example, play. Change up the value here. Like 116, and there you have your button. Now click. Nowhere, like the empty space. Then open up your view bind. And add widgets. Now it's important that you do this, otherwise it will not work. So select this one, go to the creative modular. Like the empty space. Then open up your view bindings and add widgets. Now it's important that you do this, otherwise it will not work. So select this one, go to the creative modular dialog and select response. Here it is. Now change this arrow into one-way to view model. Press here to the functions, and I want to use the get response button 1 in the dialog device. So I'm just gonna model, press here to the functions, and I want to use the get response button 1 in the dialog device. So I'm just gonna select this one. You can even have more buttons that have different functions, so just letting you know. Now click here.
Bruh. Wait, how did that show up?
So I'm just gonna select this one model. Press here to the
Wait, hold up, I need to like redo this.
so like now it's a so like about 16 and the review button. Now click nowhere, like an empty space. Then open up your view bindings and add widgets. Now it's important that you do this, otherwise it will not work. So select this one, go to the creative modular dialog and select response. Here it is. Now change this arrow into one-way to view model.
I think they changed this up because it's not... That didn't work.
Press here to the functions, and I want to use the get response button 1 in the dialog device. So I'm just gonna select this one. You can even have more buttons that have different functions, so just letting you know.
I think they changed this. That's like on clicked. My game just froze. I think that's how you do it.
Now click here, and here you will see your widget blueprint. But one thing is missing, the button that we just added. You see, here's the image, and I'm just gonna press Alt. I'm gonna rename the image so you see if it works. Backgrounds, and this button here, I'm gonna rename B button. Now I'm gonna compile this. You will get an arrow. You can just close this down. But if you open up the view bindings again, and open up your widget blueprint, you see the image changed as a background, and we now have the button here. Just press the arrow right here, and now we are looking for click event. Set. This one, and now compile, and you see we have no errors, and it will work perfectly fine. So now I'm gonna add in the scroll
Yeah,
box.
that didn't work, bud. Bind. There's a different way of doing this now, I'm pretty sure. Oh my god. Is this not how you do it? Hold up.
You can find left S, 150, yeah, whatever you want. Pretty important. Find adjusted always like this. Right here. You can just pop UI, and we need one button. These are the settings that you need to change up.
What do you call it?
Button, so the UI will show when the button is
Quiet button?
and the UI
What is a button
will hide
called? Or
when
loud
we press
button?
the responding button 1 or any responding button. Since I only have one button, I always keep it with this. And here you need to add in your scroll UI that you just created.
UI is something we can go over. User interface and any of the textures that you already had or different buttons you can use. You want to use these in the top. So let's show this.
Bro, like this is taking way longer than I feel like it should.
So guys, in this video, and then set the keyframe at the end, so it will start and end at the same place. Whatever you name it, and we can set that animation here. This is binding, select your widget, and then you can find the animation you just created. So this will be every time you set this sphere animation here, like this little binding. Select your widget, and then you can find the animation you just created. On-click the anim, it'll appear here, whatever you named it. Select that, and that's done. Every time you set this variable in verse, it will play your click animation. And
I don't know what's. I don't understand what's wrong about that. Creative mode during the load. Response.
we'll see that later. We need a little more than that, so the highlight here for that widget that we just created in UMG. This is where most
I forgot how I did it in my other map. But it was something like this. But it's saying there's something wrong with this. But I don't know what. Is it this? Optional widget binding. Here we go. Maybe this will fix the issue. I think I found the video that I need. This is why I don't want to do this on stream, because it's like, I feel like a lot of it is me just trying to understand how to do it. But, you know, I guess that's also part of the process.
So the first thing, what you're going to want to do is one of your own. Right click, go to user interface, regular user widget. It will work with the popper. We're first going to want to drag it here. Please leave with or something. I've put because there are the first thing, because if the that when we drag it to the 75, make sure it's aligned at 0.5 layer your background using this as input. Make sure the very beginning of the, so both of them have really free, but with all that out of the way, the first, not how you write the we both do that. You do this thing where you just in the browser and type in pop up dialog. We fill now. The exposition should align it through a really quick and we can dock it in the layout. Deselect the button and click add widget. The first thing we're going to want to do is set this to one way to view model. Deselect the button and click add widget. The first thing we're going to want to do is set this to 1.
drop down on the conversion function. And we can dock it in the layout. Deselect the button and click Add Widget. The first thing we're going to want to do is set this to one way to view model. We're going to click the little drop down on the conversion. Functions, or excuse me, we're actually going to click the conversion functions. Response, and then click select. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bind this to the button. So we're going to follow the drop down inside this window here and click the button, and then we're going to find the clicked event. We're going to select that.
Okay, so this is different from how I did my version.
And we're going to compile and save the widget. From here forward, we can go ahead and we can close this widget panel.
Okay. So now I just need to focus on the actual text that I add.
Aligned to this 0.5. This is to make sure that down we can go ahead and select scale to content. The next thing we're going to is take an image and drag this inside of overlay. I'm then going to rename this to background image. In the actual brush drop down, we can go ahead and select our texture. I actually just realized we made a mistake here in the overlay. We need to make sure that the alignment is set to 0.5. This is to make sure that the UI is exactly in the center of the screen. Going back to our image property, say that you need to scale it up to 1920 by 10 because it is easier to work with or something. I've personally never really had that problem, and honestly, a few times, in fact, a lot of the time, I don't scale it up, but it's just good practice to do so. I think it has something to do with the anchors. There are ways of figuring that out, like I'll go over that in a video, but it's more just about the fact that I have no idea why. So now that we've got our canvas all set up, the first thing we're going to want to do is drag an overlay inside of the canvas. We're then going to want to go over to the settings and make sure that it's anchored to the center of the screen. This is really important because if non-native resolution, we want to make sure that the patch is steady in the middle. We can also set the position X and position Y back to 0.
Oh, okay.
And I like to set the size X and size Y to 100. This is just because typically when I take a widget's information and convert it into verse UI, sometimes it's hard to look at because it can get really repetitive in the code. This is just a habit that I've gotten into. Whenever I see the 100, I know that that's the size X and size Y. We are going to size the content, so like I said, the size X and size Y doesn't really matter, but it is important that it does scale to content. The next thing we're going to do is take an image and drag this inside of the overlay. I'm then going to rename this to background image. In the actual brush dropdown, we can go ahead and select our texture. I actually just realized we made a mistake here in the overlay. We need to make sure that the alignment is set to 0.5 and 0.5. This is to make sure that the UI is exactly in the center of the screen. Going back to our image properties, I like to set the horizontal and vertical alignment to the middle. Again, this is kind of just precautionary in case of the scaling or the resolution being different. The next thing we want to do is get a UEFN text block and drag that inside of the overlay. We want to make sure that it centered horizontally with a top padding of 37.
So I think because of this thing being to scale and the image being 1920 by 1080, I'm gonna have to make this a little bit more than that, like 47.5. 47.5. 60? Damn, bro. Okay, wait. Let me just do 80.
We then want to set the text to update info. The size is going to be 65. And the text justification is going to be aligned to the center. So now that we've got our background and type, to set the text to update info. The size is going to be 65. And the text justification is going to be aligned to the center. So now that we've got to set the text to update info, the size is going to be 65, and the text justification is going to be aligned to the center. So now that we've got our background and title set up correctly, the next thing we need is a scroll. If you've never used a scroll box before, don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to set it up inside of this video, but it's important that when we drag it into the canvas, it is not inside of the overlay. It needs to be a direct child of the canvas. Inside of the scroll box settings panel, make sure that it's anchored to the center of the screen. The X position is 0, and the Y position is 47.5. Size anchored to the center.
I totally forgot the name of the device that I'm looking for, so I'm just trying to find it by the icon of it. It's the one with the 3 little dots. I must have passed it already. Yeah. I'm not seeing it. There it is. Pop-up dialog. So I think, like, I'm a little familiar from my Trilogy PvP of how to set this up, but I don't know if it's gonna have me do it differently, because even like the whole like response button thing was a little different from how I did the other one, because I use a different video. So interested to see how it sets up the pop-up dialog thing. So I think for now I'm just gonna skip through the wording part.
And press Control D. Stars. Thing down here would be the first item inside of the scroll box. Dialog. Drag the pop-up dialog device into the scene. Inside of the settings panel over here, there is a few things that we need to change. We can ignore the main settings here because we are using a custom widget. It's important that the response type is set to one button and that the default back button is button 1. As far as I know, those are the only settings that we need to change in order for this to work. There is a bug going on right now inside of UEFN. We're on version 37.5. Understanding what the bug is, hopefully the devs can select the WB. Hopefully the devs can resolve that fairly quickly, but for now let's move on. At the very bottom of the pop-up dialog device, you can see a template override class. Go ahead and click the drop down and select the WBP patch notes that we just created. The next thing that we want to do is go back to your content browser and type in button device. Drag that into the viewport as well. And now what we want to do is set the interaction text to open patch notes. And I mean, this could honestly say anything. It could say open news, open updates, open, who knows. I'm going to set the interaction radius to something like 0.33 just so that it's a little easier to see. Once you've got your button all set up, go back to these pop-up dialog device and scroll down until you see the functions section. click the plus icon on the shell event and click this little dropper tool. We want to link it to the button that we just created, and it's important that we set the binding to on interact. Once you've got all that set up, go ahead and launch a session. So now that we're in game, we can go ahead and open up the new UI. It's important that you make sure everything looks good and there aren't any typos like this one right here. I highly recommend that you invite some buddies to come and play test your map. But it's important that when we drag it into the canvas, it is not inside of the control box before. Don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to set it up inside of this video. But it's important that when we drag it into the canvas, it is not inside of the overlay. It needs to be a direct child of the canvas. Inside of the scroll box settings panel, make sure that it's anchored to the center of the screen. The X position is 0.
Just gonna name it update. Okay, and then
And the Y position is 47.4. Size X and size Y are going to be 700. Make sure it's aligned at 0.5, 0.5 as well. And do not size to content. It's also important to know that the Z order should be one above whatever layer your background image is on. Now that we've got our scroll box set up correctly, the next thing we need is an overlay. There aren't any settings inside of the overlay that need to be changed. We're mainly using this as an organizational tool to help us keep our hierarchies clean while we design the rest of the UI. The next thing we need to do is add a stack box inside of the overlay that we just created. Make sure the horizontal alignment is set to fill, and the orientation is set to vertical. Now, inside of that stack box, we can add our very first text block. This is going to be the very beginning of the actual patch notes.
it's a little off.
So while I was designing
No, I'm just gonna keep it 32 for now.
I spent some time playing some other Fortnite maps, and I took a lot of inspiration from Lumberjack Heroes and Night Legends. Both of them have really fantastic patch note design, and I thought that I could design something unique that was a mix between the two. And I hope that the things that I teach you in this video can inspire you to make something even cooler. But with all that out of the way, the first text block here is actually going to be the date. So for me, it's October 11th. I'm going to put 2025, 10, 11. And this actually is not how you write the date in America. We do it the other way. But I think that this looks better, and it's got kind of like a patch note kind of vibe, a very technical, not how you write the date in America. We do it the other way. But I think that this looks better, and it's got kind of like a patch note kind of vibe, a very technical, push my glasses really quick, But so I already have a color picked out, which I'm going to paste right here. But if you don't have October 11th, I'm going to put 2025, 10, 11. And this actually is not how you write the date in America. We do it the other way. But I think that this looks better, and it's got kind of like a patch note kind of vibe, a very technical, pushing my glasses really quick, But so I already have a color picked out, which I'm going to paste right here. But if you don't have a color, there's this really cool tool available for free on Google. If you just type and you can change a bit to duplicate. Now this is change a bit big, and I'm going to set the font size to 24 because this is supposed to be kind of out of the way and more dull. So once you got the text all formatted, select it and press Control D to duplicate. Now this is actually going to be the type and more dull. So once you got the text all formatted, select it and press Control D to duplicate. Now this is actually going to be the title of the update. So in this case, it is version 1.0 Please note. And I want to make sure that the text is fully white, the font is 40. After that, duplicate it again. And I want to make sure that the text is fully white, the font is 40. After that, duplicate it again, except this time we set the top padding to 24. And for this time with the font is 40. After that, duplicate it again, except this time we want to set the top padding to 24. And for this time with the text, here's actually a special trick that not a lot of people know about. If you're on Windows and you press Windows period, it will actually open an emoji menu. And if you didn't know, UEFN does support emojis, some emojis. So for this case, let's do like a rocket. So let's put a rocket here, and let's do updates. And we're gonna make this a little bit it's going to be size 32. And we're going to make it a little bit less bright. Like about there is good. You want it to be more of like a subheading rather than a full title. This is kind of just going to be like a little update message that you can use. If you don't want to put update log, you could do something like some stars and then do like greetings goat.
Oh, these ads are killing me. Anyway, obviously right now I'm kind of just following what it says, but at some point I'll kind of like customize it to be more of like personalized. But like this is my first time making like a update log or update info, so I'm kind of trying to get the gist of like what some creators might have or what it kind of looks like, and then from there update the text if needed or as needed.
It's really up to you about how you want to format it. After that, duplicate it again.
Because I didn't even know Control D was like a thing.
At this point in designing the UI, it's pretty straightforward. You can fill the scroll box with as many text blocks as you want, and this is just a really good way of keeping your players up to date with news or information. Or anytime you want to just inform the players about something, this is where you would want to put it. I'm going to go ahead and fill out some example information just so you can get an idea of like how to format things or an idea about what you want to say. Another thing I wanted to mention is if you ever have a piece of text that is too long to fit on a single line, there's a setting down here called auto wrap text, and this is super useful because it just cuts off exactly at the edge of the scroll box, and it begins on a new line. One thing to be careful about though is if you have auto wrap on a piece of text that is not longer than one line, it will format weird, and I'm not sure if that was just something that I did wrong when I was creating the UI, or if this is something that is like a real bug. I don't know, but hopefully you don't run into that. I made the mistake, so you don't have to. But just be super careful. If something's ever messed up, just check the auto wrap text because that is like a super big headache for me to figure out.
Welcome to Who Was It?
So now that I've got the version 1.0 formatted, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the entire overlay. And it's important to know that your current release should be the first item inside of the scroll box. So for example, this would be version 1.10, and then this one would be version 1.0. But they should be descending in reverse order, I think, if that makes sense. So this one, if I, go ahead and do this, would be version 1.20, and then this one would be version 1.0. But they should be just item inside of the scroll box. So for example, this would be version 1.10, and then this one would be version 1.0. But they should be descending in reverse order, I think, if that makes sense. So this one, if I, go ahead and do this, would be version 1.20. That's just important because you want to make sure that the first thing that they see is the most recent update. Then if they decide to scroll down, it goes into the version history. Now that I've duplicated it, and it's important to know that your current release should be the first item inside of the scroll box. So for example, this would be version 1. Weird, and hopefully you don't. And it's important. So just check the auto wrap text because that is like a super big headache. 1.0 formatted. So just check the auto wrap text because that is like a super big headache for me to figure out. So now that I've got the version 1.0 formatted, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate. entire overlay. And I'm not sure if that was just something that I did wrong when I was creating the UI, or if this is something that is like a real bug. I don't know, but hopefully you don't run into that. I made the mistake, so you don't have to. But just be super careful. If something's ever messed up, just check the auto wrap text, because that is like a super big headache for me to figure out. So now that I've got the version 1.0 formatted, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the entire overlay. And it's important to know that your current release should be the first item inside of the scroll box. So for example, this would be version 1.10, and then this one would be version 1.0. But they should be descending in reverse order, I think, if that makes sense. So this one, if I go ahead and do this with version 1.20, that's just important because you want to make sure that the first thing that they see is the most recent update. Then if they decide to scroll down, it goes into the version history. Now that I've duplicated it, I'm just going to delete all of the contents inside of here except for the first 3, because these are like the main ones that are formatted. In this case, I'm just showing you how to design the UI, but if you were going to be doing this for real, you would want to make sure that the date is different for each version.
A complete 4-piece bedroom for under $1,000? Right now during Jerome's 4th of July event.
The UI, but if you were going to be doing this for, but just be super careful. If something's up, that your current release should be on a piece of text that is not longer than 1 line, it will hopefully you don't want. And it's important to know 1.0 formatted. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the entire overlay. And it's important.
Yo, what's up? I'm gonna shout you out. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, I just saw your thing. I was locked in. I'm trying to like make this little update thingy right now. So I'm trying to figure out how I want it to look. And I'm watching like a tutorial on how to do it as well at the same time. But basically what I'm doing is... Hold up, excuse me. Alright, so now I have like version 1, 2, and 3, and then obviously version 1 will go at the bottom, and then version 2 will, or version 3 is like the newest version, or newest release. So I just want to focus on like what it looks like, update info. So it's gonna be like game info, like being like the first version of the game pretty much is just this one where it talks about, you know, welcome to who was it, everyone's new favorite minigame. And then version 2 is you're going to update log, say what's new, and then make this like red. Make this a lighter red. No, we'll just keep it like that for now. Alright. Close this one. Should wear my glasses, bro. My eyes are starting to hurt. Okay, so the month goes last. So there's been multiple updates that I have had, but I don't know functionality wise, like over time obviously the map has looked a little bit different. I don't know what I should put for like, for now I think I'm just gonna put 3 versions. So this version is gonna be this one, which is 23-10. That seems correct. Right? So that's the most recent update that I've made. And then we gotta make a copy of this one. This one's gonna be the most recent. And rename it to 0.4. Alright, this actually makes it a lot better because now, like, it's kind of a way of keeping accountability of like actually what's being added. Like, obviously it's a little extra and like I probably could be working on the actual function of the game, but I think this is a good like starting point to kind of create potentially that community that's looking for updates, even though like I'm not updating the actual game right now. I think, you know, just like having this to kind of look at and be like, okay, release 1 was kind of like the beginning phase of, obviously the wording was different, as you could see on here. The wording that I used, it was a little bit more kind of like battle royale styled, and even like the genre that I used like free-for-all, and now it's like mini game, party game, just for fun, casual. So like kind of the difference between that, and you know, maybe even in the future I might change that, like what it's considered. But you know, in the patch notes, that's not something that I need to put for in the game. But when I am making new releases, having kind of like the what's new, like even though from a developer standpoint it's a little bit different, like for example, like this update info would be like the new stuff that's been added to the game, but from a developer standpoint it's like the devices, the verse, what you've actually added versus like the wording of what has been added. So like for example, if you add like a teleporter slash like a rift, then you have to say in the developer like what has been added. You have to say like, okay, I added a widget, I added this teleporter device. And then like for the community slash the update info within the game, it would be like added new new weapon UI, new health UI, added new power-ups and stuff like that, where it's like the wording of how you say that for releasing your game is different from the community update of what the definition of what has been added. So that's something that I think makes it easier, because like with my newer releases sometimes I add different text to the titles, like here for example, where it's like, you know, I'm just changing the description, changing the tags, changing the image, and like that is a start. But being able to actually like create full-on patch notes or release notes makes a big difference in like how the game is seen. Obviously from like a player perspective or a community perspective, it might not make that much of a difference, but to me it's like being able to kind of be like, okay, this is all the stuff that I added, So how do I add more and make it better in the next update, rather than kind of just like being like, okay, this is what I've added to the game and I need to describe that for the developer standpoint to make the release, versus making the release for the community. I'm sorry if like I kind of repeating myself in a way, but like I don't know, like I haven't thought about it that way. It's like more of like I've had to do this from the developer standpoint and not from like the player standpoint. So to be able to like see it and actually like work on it, it's, I don't know, it's interesting. It's like it's just something else to kind of like learn more about and understand. I'm not liking the colors. I don't know what colors to use. This is the very first one, right? Release notes, game info. Why is it doing that? I feel like I need to choose a different color. What's like the main colors? Blue. I think it's a light blue. And red. It's blue, white, and red, right? I think. Wait, let me see. Yeah, blue, white, and red. But it's like teal. It's like a teal white. Who was it? Yeah, so white, blue, and red. Okay. Blue, red, and red. Blue, white. So this could be white. I feel like I shouldn't mess around too much with the whole thing. But I kind of want to be able to edit like this and change the color of it. See, why is it? It's messing with me. Alright. So this is the first one. Welcome to Who Was It? Everyone's new favorite minigame. Blah blah blah. So now I gotta figure out like what I added in between, bro. I don't even remember for real. All I know is like in my most recent one, the biggest difference was like the player stats and radio. Well, actually, no. That was the newest one. So I'm just gonna write that for now. Spawn from the sky. That's kind of like the only new thing that I added in the news update, to be completely honest. And then this one, from what I could remember, Spawn from the sky. Mark's player, Mark's player on 5th knock in a row. Mark's player on 5th knock in a row. Right. And then the first version, the second update was player stats and radio. So obviously I also have to add like quote unquote patch notes. So instead of saying release notes, I could say patch notes, as in like, well, I don't know how that works exactly. If release notes versus patch notes, if patch notes should be like its own section. So for now, I'm just gonna keep this. So game info, right? And then 2 was what's new. So far, from what I can remember off the top of my head, is that I added player stats and I added like a radio. Obviously, I added UI as well, so maybe I could just say UI for now to kind of like just have something there to kind of go off of. So I think that's a good start. Like that looks so plain right now, but like honestly, for now, it, it's fine. Mark players on 5th knock in a row. Even like for 0.5, I feel like that wasn't how the game originally was. So I don't know if I should say game info and say like that's exactly how the game was to start, because the disguise thing wasn't even like in the first update technically. So I don't know, like in this patch note that I made, player UI, player stats, radio UI. Maybe player stats. I think I'm gonna do player stats in version 3. Because I honestly don't remember, like I know for sure that I added the radio before I added the player stats. But I don't know if I technically made an update, if that makes sense. But to kind of like try to try to make this make more sense instead of, and also have a little bit more to say for the update. Yeah, I think radio and UI is like a good start for what I had for this one. Who was it? Everyone's new favorite game. Oh, bro. Alright, I'm just gonna take a quick pause on this for a second. Actually, let me go back into it. Because now I just realized something. Say speed boost. Speed boost on 5th knock in a row. I know that's not how you spell it. Hold up. Like, sometimes I'm like actually special. Okay. So I'm kind of in the in between, I feel like, because this is where it kind of goes into the like player versus developer. Like, obviously I'm not gonna say infinite stamina for the developer side of things. It would be like added a speed changer or something like that, or a speed changer device. I think that's what the device is called. But there's like, it's like you added a device. From the player perspective, if I say unlimited stamina, I feel like I have to specify, like, I feel like that shouldn't be a patch note or like a update related thing. I feel like that should be something about like how the game works. So like that's where part of me is like, this whole UI thing is messing with me, and I'm like, wait, what if I make it like bigger or something like that? And it's like, instead of it just being patch notes, like when where it says like game info, like it says start off into the skies, find who's been knocking everyone off. Like, this is just basic info. So I'm like kind of thinking to myself, maybe instead of just like reiterating what the game, or at least says the game's about, I should make maybe the game info more detailed, of like how it actually works, where I am kind of talking about that in here, about the mark players on 5th knock in a row, player stats. Or player stats is kind of like, here, added player stats. And then kind of the added player stats could be part of the release notes, patch notes. But like the speed boost on 5th knock in a row, unlimited stamina, and mark players on 5th knock in a row could go into the game info rather than just poorly saying what people should know the game's about if they read the description. Bro. Alright, I'm gonna sit on that one for a little bit. But I think like when it comes to like the updates of what I've quote unquote added, I think this is good. You know? And even if I shorten it and make it so then like there's less release notes, since like this isn't really a release note, like 0.1 isn't a release note, it's kind of just like what the game's about, but it's like that's not how the game originally was. So maybe I could do something where it says like update info says game info, and then right under it says and updates, like right under this. And then I want to have some type of chapter thing or something where you could see the chapters. So for now, I'm just gonna keep it like that. I'm gonna fix it up in a little bit, but I'm gonna take a little mind break, so I'll be right back. And then come back, launch the session, see how it looks so far, and then from there decide if I should kind of like come back to this tomorrow. I'm back. I think instead of making this 2 different ones, I think there should be 1. Because players get... Why can't I see it? Okay, that looks a lot better now, I think. Alright. So, start off in the skies, find who's been knocking everyone off, knock 5 players off to get a random item, speed boost, and then an unlimited... Players are marked on 5th knock in a row. Knock 5 players off to get a random item, speed boost, and unlimited stamina. Players are marked on 5th knock in a row. Disguise is removed. Players are marked on 5th knock in a row. I think that definitely makes it a little bit more clear. Game info, welcome to Who Was It, everyone's new favorite minigame. Start off in a disguise, find who's been knocking everyone off. Okay, it is. Welcome to Who Was It, everyone's new favorite minigame. Start off in a disguise, find who's been knocking everyone off, knock 5 players off to get a random item, speed boost, and unlimited stamina. Players are marked on 5th knock in a row and disguised. Players are start off and find who's been knocking everyone off. Knock 5 players off to get a random item, speed boost, and then player. Knock 5 players off. Knock 5 players off. Find who's been knocking everyone off. Knock 5 players off in a row to get random items to use and then use them. Players are marked on that makes more sense. Start off in a disguise, find who's been knocking everyone off. Knock 5 players off in a row to get a random item, speed boost, and unlimited stamina. Start off in disguise, find who's been knocking everyone off. Knock 5 players off in a row to get coins. A random item, speed boost, unlimited stamina. Find who's been knocking. Start off in a disguise, find who's been knocking everyone off. Knock 5 players off in a row to get coins, a speed to get coins, a random item, speed boost, and unlimited stamina. Players are marked on their 5th knock in a row, and their disguise is removed. I think that's a pretty good description of the game so far. Update. Game info. Why does it keep on doing that? Oh, because I can't update it because it's its own text that stays there. At some point I'll try to make it so then this says game info for this one, but for now it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Alright guys, so after I load into the game, what the heck is my hair? After I load into the game, I'm gonna see it real quick, see how it looks, and then we'll come back to this tomorrow. I like the sizing of it, as in the vertical, but horizontal, I think it needs to be a little bit, like, bigger, so then it's, like, more visible. Plus, also, like, at some point, I want to change the overall UI that is in place, so it looks a little bit different. And it's more like my style rather than just someone else's, so I'll work on that as well soon. But for now, I think that's pretty good. See, I should have watched through the video, because as I'm seeing like what the wording that he uses, he makes it looks a lot more professional. Control V and Control D is the same thing, I guess. It's just that you're not. Oh, I see. That's fine for now. I don't even know what to say for real. Spawn patch notes UI for in-game updates. So it says updates. So I need to make this scroll box bigger. And then make the image bigger. Goodness, bro. I'm actually like stuck on what else I should like say for this one. This adding new features. Okay, so I added this spawn from the sky, right? Like I can't remember what else I've added into this update. Also, I guess like I changed this area, but I don't know like how I should word that. Oh, yeah, I added coins and stuff too. So I added, okay. Added coin system. So this is just gonna be like a little. I know that's not how you spell it, but I'm a little dumb. So that's just what it's gonna say for now. So I added a currency system. Right, what else did I add? I don't know like what you call this area. Update to what would you call it? Update to lobby area? I'm just gonna say lobby area for now. Lobby area. Right? And then what else? I feel like that's all that I added. I added a point system and then updated the lobby area. And then, you know, the whole sky system. So then I could say something about these items over here, saying like, added viable items or something. Like, I'm gonna change the wording, but I'm just trying to like add it for now, so then I have something to like be like, okay, this is why I added in the update. So let me just add that real quick. Added items. I don't think that's even a word for real, but that's what we're just gonna stick with for now.
So once you've got these scroll blocks complete the X position, you should go line up me through a really quick review up down on the conversion.
Okay, I'm really gonna have to dive deep into like the updates that I've made throughout, but like the most memorable ones that I've made into like the most previous update or newest update is the whole like currency viable items, the update to the spawn area, spawning from the sky, and then I guess I could also add like something about what I want to add in the next update. Should I do that? I don't know if I should do that. I think I'm just gonna stick to this, kind of just saying like added patch notes, UI for in-game updates, added currency system, added viable items, update to lobby area. There's now spawn from sky. Alright. I'm gonna compile that. And then and I guess I'm gonna copy this one. I'm gonna paste it. 0.4. This kind of gives us a good like building block. Alright. So I think this is like a good starting point. It says update info and then it says game info. I kind of want to change the wording of like this, making it say game info on the top here, and then when you scroll down it says update info. So maybe I might just do that right now. Okay, so if I copy this, right, copy, and to put it into the stackable paste. Huh. Okay, that's not gonna work. So, what if we put it here? Perfect. Okay. And then we put it at the same location. See, that doesn't work. So I'm gonna have to figure out some workaround to make this work how I want it to. Because this is above. That's like. Is not in the stackable or whatever the heck we call this thing. Dang it, bro. It's fine for now. I'm not gonna like spend too much time on this because then I'll end up like spending another 30 minutes to an hour trying to work on this. So I think for now, just sticking to this, like update info, and then say game info. Welcome to Who Was It? Everyone's new favorite mini game. Start off, blah blah blah. Right? That's how the update thing starts, and then as you go down. Okay, that's the game info. So this is this one, and then 0.4, version 0.4 release notes. What's new? This update focuses on accessibility, bug fixes, and some new exciting UI additions. And then we'll probably change the wording so it's not like exactly what the other person had in theirs. But then for new features, it has added patch notes, UI for in-game updates, added currency system, added buyable items, update to lobby area. Instead of saying update to lobby area, I feel like maybe I should say, like, I don't know the right wording for it, but it wasn't like an update to it. It was like a remodel remodel. Remodel to lobby area. Like, I'm trying to figure out words to use to make it sound like it's better. Because, like, when he said this update focuses on stability, bug fixes, and some new exciting UI, it's like, that gives that makes it sound a lot better. So, like, to be able to do that for each individual feature and every single thing in this will make it sound so much better than how I have it, because right now this kind of sounds like plain. I think also the color's a little bit off. Like, I need to make it a little bit lighter. I think something like that looks better. Because right now it's like a little bit too gray. It's like if you look at this, you're not gonna even want to read it because it's like it looks so dull. But even this kind of looks dull. In general, I want to change the background UI because it doesn't really fit with like my theme and all that. So I'll have to fix that at some point. But I think for now, kind of this. I think this is a good starting point. You know. I think this should go to this one. Let me compile changes and then see how that looks, and then go from there. And then we'll come back to this tomorrow. I know I said that several times, but this time I'm serious. But in tomorrow's stream, you'll probably see like some updates because I'm gonna have to go soon. So it's like kind of no point in just keep on trying to update it on stream. But in tomorrow's stream, I'll have updated the text a little bit, but also added a new one. I want to make the newer patch notes, like the patch notes that I'm working on right now are from the past year, pretty much, because I posted this game in 2025. Let me see exactly what day, because I have it here, because I was trying to look at when I made updates to it. 11 months ago, actually, so it wasn't even a year ago, technically. It was last year, but it was only 11 months ago that I made the first release of the game. Like, I know there's, like, 7 different versions that I've made of the game, but most of it was just text-related. It wasn't necessarily, like, game-related. And I don't have it on the top of my head, like, every individual little change that I made. So I'm trying my best to preserve, like, what has been added to my best ability and trying to just put that into the update log so it's visible. So if we go over here now and I open patch notes, it should show exactly how it's been. So update info, game info, it shows right here. Welcome to Who Was It, everyone's new favorite minigame. Start off in a disguise, find who's been knocking everyone off, knock 5 players off in a row to get coins, a random item, speed boost, and limited stamina. Players are marked on their 5th knock in a row, and your disguise is removed. Like and favorite and follow me if you enjoy it. And then release notes. One thing too, like so far, that I kind of don't like is like I want to have some type of line or some type of cutoff, so then you know like when it goes to the next thing, or like space it out more, because like right now it's like I feel like that's too close together where you kind of don't know what is what. But besides that, I think it's pretty good. Release notes, what's new, this update focuses on stability, bugs, fixes, and exciting UI additions, new features, added patch note, UI for in-game updates, added currency system, added viable items, remodel to lobby area, player now spawns from this guy. I think player is now spawned from this guy. Alright. So I'm gonna end the game on that. One little change I'm going to make is instead of saying player, I'm going to say players. That's the only thing I'm going to change for now. If I could find it. Players. Players. And just make sure it says players now spawn from the sky. Yes, okay, perfect. Save that. Boom, boom, boom. Alright. Instead of pushing changes, I'm just gonna go out of Fortnite or back to lobby. And then now I don't have to push changes. So I'll just make sure I saved it. Right. Obviously we could also check in changes, but I'm not gonna do that yet until like I feel like at least the UI is done and I also have added the other stuff. But I'm gonna call it on that. See y'all tomorrow. Hope y'all enjoyed. Looking forward to hopefully being able to go into the actual function part of working on the new update that I'm going to be making, the newer patch note that I'll show you all tomorrow. I'm going to be working a little bit more on the patch notes as well, but I think tomorrow's stream I mainly want to focus on the actual functionality, trying to learn a little bit more about verse and trying to get the game to be a little bit more how I actually want it to be. But with that said, hope y'all enjoyed. I'll see y'all tomorrow.